get me. I can
Showing
go.
what we want to show.
You see
Hey,
it? Can
Johnny
you see
Five
it?
is alive. Hot damn, good reference, Lance. I like it. We tricked you. You thought you were gonna get us, messing around backstage. We were ready. We were just teasing you guys out there. Welcome again to another episode of Cardboard Conversations. Thanks everybody for joining us this evening. Big shout out to Bob for joining me. What up, Bob?
Yo,
Again.
what's up, Magic folks?
Yeah, so yesterday was Dominaria Remastered's full street release, and I actually went to a draft event. I gotta say, it was a pretty fun time too. I got my butt kicked readily, but had a blast anyways. Drafted a couple of cool cards and just had a fun time. But on
Dominaria is
top of
all the
that,
rage, and I'm not trying to poop on it, but as you know, I've been very hesitant and skeptical on it, and still am.
I
My
get that.
advice for people that are
Yeah.
looking for value is, like you said, the key words, right? And I think so long as
Mm,
people do like what you're doing, and you said it absolutely correct, and that is, I went, I pulled it, I had fun pulling it, right?
mm-hmm.
And that's what they need to
Yeah.
do. You
Yeah.
know, if you're going there to try to get value, and
Oh,
I
yep.
guess
Yep.
Prime put me, kind of in my place a little bit today on Dual Brain stream,
Ooh.
saying you told us to expect, less, and that's going to be the key moving forward. Like if you want to have Magic for
Mm.
the foreseeable future, um, expect to have fun watching values rapidly decline. So long as you're still having fun with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
expectation, you won't be disappointed and you won't be angry.
Yeah. Yeah, and no, I think that's a good thing is to temper your expectations on things.
Yeah.
When it just about this time last year, we were going through Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow, and everybody was poo-pooing about power down and stuff. Well, you can't stay used to, candy every day. Sometimes you got to get your vegetable sets. And I think that's exactly what that was. A couple of good staples here and there, but generally it wasn't sweetness on the tooth. And I think that's what people have to think about going forward is you can't keep having master sets that everything is just bombs. Like Dominaria Remastered, they used a whole lot of their equity very quickly over the last 18 months. And if anything, I mean, both of us, we were talking behind the scenes. It seems as though, for me at least, I'm thinking the next 18 months are going to be a similar reflection.
Oh, at least I think you're being optimistic and
I am,
conservative.
I am. But I think that's a fair stick in the sand for me. I think a lot of their stuff now that so much production is digitized, they're able to send files so much faster. I think even the printing stuff is getting a lot quicker. Doesn't mean it'll be better. If anything, probably not. We'll most likely, because of the huge rush on getting more and more product out, I think we'll see even worse issues with the cards.
Well, I
Uh,
think you're touching on something that's been, I haven't talked. So this is a live premiere, tinfoil hat Bob prediction.
ooh, I like it.
Um, you know, just mulling over the state of affairs in the world in general. I'm noticing that there's more delays on getting my stuff. I order a lot of stuff, right? Like I have too
Yeah,
much stuff.
preach.
I just
Yeah,
ordered
for
shit.
sure,
I'm
man.
order all. But Sherry Vegas always says, "Did we get a llama?" Like when the doorbell rings because it's somebody delivering some shit, whether it's Amazon or UPS or something coming in, and we just ordered an incredible amount of shit. What I've been noticing is that it's getting a bit longer on many things to receive them. I'm hearing that Amazon laid off something like twice as many employees as it was expecting to. That
Oh,
um, I can't remember. Somebody else was laying off a bunch of people, and I think that's just the tentative first steps. Right now, on a positive note, I don't know, and this matters, folks. This really does matter in the world of Magic, and I'll say, well, that's because
hey
Magic
Ed,
is
good to see
going
you, brother.
Magic's going to trail behind the economy, meaning it's going to lag a little bit, but it will follow suit. It will do the same thing that the economy overall does to an extent. And it's complicated, like all the reprints are going to take a bite. I want to dig into, and I have the numbers behind me here. I'll reveal that real quick since I'm in OBS here. That the the general trend. I don't know if you're seeing that right there. That's live right now as of today. In my favorite tool, do you see the critical piece there that people should be a little frowny face on? It almost looks like a little frowny face, and it's the percentage of change. You notice how it's all the top stuff is trending
Red.
down in
Yep.
a rapid direction. This is
Yeah.
release day +1. Release was yesterday, and we're already seeing massive drops.
Oh yeah.
And we ain't done with that. And I'm not trying to be negative Nancy or poo-poo, but I'm being real, because what you see on the screen, that's really what's happening in the world.
And
folks.
you know, it's funny, Bob. One of the things I thought last night as we were doing the draft, all the cards I had pulled, I'd gotten a Mystical Tutor, Nantuko Shade, you know, some real fun cards that I'm going to be able to slide into decks. Be really, you know, happy that I've got those. And I saw everybody else. The guy sitting next to me pulled a Vampiric Tutor and a Sylvan Library. Now, my thought right away was, damn, if you don't want to play with those cards, get rid of them tonight. Because by tomorrow, and that's such a wild thought, that the market for these are so incredibly volatile. You know, I thought that, in all honesty, that there would be a bit of a change with how the set was accepted into players' hands, into their pockets, onto websites. I thought it was going to be a bit different, specifically because they did the spoilers for this set in 2 days. It was I think it was like 36 hours, and they had every single card released.
I don't think we've seen anything yet. I'll be honest with you. I mean, like look at Double Masters. Look at Modern Horizons 2.
Oh yeah, and that's
down at the $8-10 range. It's
that right there's a great example as well. I mean, Double Masters 22. I know you had opened a bit. I as well had gone through a few boxes of the draft, and it was a phenomenal product to open. So many great staples, so many wonderful cards. I slid into multiple decks. Shit, I started building another deck just because I pulled a really nice card out of there. Fancy treatment in the whole nine. And now the box prices right to the floor again. It's so wild. Such a good set.
I mean, and I'm not trying to be negative. Like this doesn't surprise me, and it's following what I was predicting, and I predict it's going to go more in that direction. So what I was saying before with like the general economy is that we're going to see potentially things taking longer, right, to even turn around, because you were saying that they'll turn around in 18 months. The world has not returned to normal. It's still trying to find its new normal.
Yeah.
You know, the Ukraine war is still happening. Oil prices are just volatile as hell.
Yeah.
You know, gas will fluctuate like $1 up and down in a week.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, or down and up. You know, it's a lot of thank you, Dual Brain.
It's true though. Yeah, I like it. Thank you, Ed.
I appreciate that, because that's how I feel when I'm saying it. Where the emotion comes in for me is I see people being hopeful, right, online, and I think that hopefulness in the face of logic and analysis, it leads to bad things, right?
I think they're being,
and I feel bad for people. Like I feel bad for the community at large.
They're blinded for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why I say the things that I say and try to point out the things I point out, because I'm like, oof, yeah, no. You want to talk about hopeful? I'm hopeful for Lorcana. There's something that we don't know.
Yeah, right.
There's so little evidence for it being great. I can perfectly accept that it might come out and go, you know, we don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
But,
I'm hopeful for Commander Raids. Yeah, I mean, so one of the great things that did really occur for me last night at the draft, Bob, we talked a little bit about this offline. I put some stuff in the Discord server there. I was able to talk with the store owner for a while. I gave him a printout of the doc that Matt was so wonderful in cooking up for us, and he was just blown away by the work we had done. And after chatting back and forth for a while, a couple of other players came by, heard us talking about it. We're so interested that we're actually going to be playing tomorrow at our LGS.
Oh, fantastic. That's nice. I honestly think if people give it a real shot, they're going to fall in love with it. It's really fun.
And it was so funny how consistent this line has been. Oh man, I bet if you did this, oh, I could see that maybe you tweak this part. First thing from everybody is, oh my goodness, there's so many opportunities here that
Oh yeah.
everybody starts to want to tweak at it to play a little bit in their own homebrew. Wonderful. I love that. You know,
It's
there's
funny, right? Because what other format do you play? They go, like when you introduce them to Commander itself, they don't go, "Oh man, what if we just did this with it?" You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't have this. You don't have the same response to like playing Standard or Pauper or
yeah, it's
Emperor or
a
any
whole
other
other
format. But this
situation.
one,
Yeah.
it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
you know what we could do with this? It's
So
the
it's
craziest
funny.
thing.
I it's probably
I love
been
it.
6 months, maybe 8 months since I've been down to my LGS, maybe even longer. And funny enough, first guy I got paired against was the first guy I ever played Commander against in a store. Now, I had one of the worst experiences ever, and we
I'm
actually
sorry.
reminisced about that last night. Was that he had a Kali of the Vast deck, and I had taken a rather poor modern sliver deck and turned it into a commander deck, and he whooped me like a stepchild. Now, we were talking about last night that in instances like that, in commander raids, instead of feeling bad, the new kid, if he's got a precon and you've got a crazy deck, you guys can play together and everybody comes out a winner. And once that started clicking in some of these guys' head, they started feeling that, oh wow, there's going to be this camaraderie, there's going to be this, brotherhood that we can build up. We're all adventuring together to defeat these monsters. It's such an interesting idea, and I think people really need that actually right now. I think more people are going to need that feeling of like being together, and especially seeing new decks. That was something somebody else brought up is if we're in an LGS, we can actually do 10 people in a commander raid. Tune up the dice rolls a little bit, make it real gross, right? Difficult. But we can also have all these different decks you've never seen. A Soul Canar deck? What the heck does that do? Whoa, whoa. You've got an Edric deck? Oh, wait. I get to get cards too? Yeah, you get so much different exposure. It'll be so fun. Three different
Here's a different
omnats at
take
the
on that.
same time. It's exciting.
Here's a different take on that as well, and it's much in the same vein, but a slight different take, and that is because it is different. That people can, look at their own collections in ways that they haven't looked at them before. Cards you never gave a second thought. You just pitched into your binder. That you're like, wait a minute, that card may be great for this. So it's
Yeah.
a way to look at cards that traditionally aren't even that expensive, right? That would be amazing in the format.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
And
it gives new
yeah,
life to your collection as well, where you don't even have to spend
yeah.
more money.
And that's a great point as well, especially playing in person in a format like this. The trades start to come alive again. Oh hey, I've got something in my binder that would just fit perfect in that deck. Oh wow, you're running Kaikar. Why don't you have Ornithopter in there? You've got a lot of banner effects where it gets, buffs from being a flying creature. Oh man, it costs 0, you get an extra trigger. Hey, I'll just hook you up with one. Oh, you don't have enough soul rings? Heck, I bought them for 89 cents a piece. I've got a whole section in my binder. That stuff came alive last night. And seeing that and the enthusiasm from these other players, I'm really excited for this portion. Like I had said when we were talking about at the close of 22, I think 2023 for us is going to be an incredible year in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'll tell you this: my involvement, if you're going to say uh, Magic the Gathering, would be far less of the um, economics of it,
Mm-hmm.
and far more of the establishing commander raids. And look, like I don't know how to tell people. I keep saying over and over, we're not making anything off of this. It's purely a gift to the community, and I
Yep.
think it's so fun, and I
Right.
think that people would love it
Yeah.
if they dug their hands into it a little bit. And like I said, anybody who gives it a real shot has that same. It's like an addiction where they go, if we just did this, it'd be great, and we encourage that. Take it, homebrew it, make it your own. Whatever looks great with it. So. And I agree with you, Ed. And I'm sorry for getting to your comment so late here. When you do tell people inconvenient truths, they tend to take that almost as an attack,
Mm.
right? That if
Yeah, it's
if you
very
say,
true
"Hey,
though.
this set's going to tank
Yeah.
hard," and I think it will. I think reprint sets are more susceptible to tanking hard than brand new sets, and I'll tell you why. Because Lance pointed out, we already know what the good cards are, and there's been a starvation in the market, which is what caused them to be so high. So they only have one place to go, and that is down. Right? They only have one place that they could possibly go with those reprints. People were so excited about even the retro bordered reprints out of Brothers War. Have you looked at the price on those jokers? Pennies.
Yeah,
Pennies.
dropped
Look,
like the temperature in winter.
Got in the face. It's Mistress Bauble, that everybody was like, oh, Mistress Bauble. Now it's like, what, a $2 card?
Yeah, practically.
Like,
yeah.
And just during Magic 30, that was like a $12 card.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and
that's what happens. People thinking these things are just going to go back up. No, they're not. They're not, and I'll tell you why they're not. We're so used to things getting reprinted, and then we see them rebound. That was the behavior. That's what the expected behavior is. That was in a different era of Magic with different leadership, where they had different print run numbers. This is a massive amount of reprints of things. I honestly, that's why I stopped saying, hey, I think that the fetch lands, good time to pick them up. I don't know where the bottom is. It's a very different mentality over at WotC, and I don't know if they'll go down again. Imagine if they reprint the enemy fetch lands in 2 years. What do you think fetch lands will be in 2 years? Like, even if they recover, let's say
after they get reprinted again,
50% of what they are now, and they get another reprint in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean,
they'll be $1 or to $5 a piece.
Yeah, and I mean, for years we heard people preaching from the rooftops, reprint the fetch lands. We need these. It's a staple in this format, in all formats. Anywhere you can play them, you want to play them. Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Anybody who had a whole binder of them, I mean, Moxman, bless his heart. That's a wonderful collection of Mox Ambers. Sucks that they're fucking like half the price. That if anything, like it was a.
And imagine if they print that thing again soon.
Yeah, like.
And they are. I mean, people say, "Oh, they don't reprint things that fast." Bullshit. I mean, they've reprinted Urza 3 times since Modern Horizons 1.
Yeah, exact. Train of thought on this as well. To a great example, Hunting Grounds. Never had seen the card before. $15, $20 card. Man, 1 green, 1 white. If it's got threshold, you can put a creature in when someone else puts a creature in. Fucking banger card. Reason it's expensive, it was printed once. Now, it's like $3, $4, $5 at most. Mystic Remora. Man, that thing was creeping up on $12 a piece for the Ice Age copies. Then it was in Secret Lair. Then it was printed in 2 different versions here. Now it's for a third of the price.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that Cynthia really didn't understand. Like, I would bet in her mind, she came and goes, "Oh boy, look at all these old expensive cards that we can reprint and make our revenue stream look like it's going up." The problem is that's not sustainable. She doesn't understand. She's looking at it from like a video game market where, oh, we did this great thing and now we're a buzz and people will just come. They won't. I'm telling you right now. They won't. They won't naturally find it. You need to do the work, like doing much better advertising. But instead of advertising, they sunk 70% into the digital part of their portfolio, which has done terribly. They're canceling games. It only returned 30% of their revenue.
No, she said it. Mana echoes.
She's not understanding the direction that the card collectible card game market needs to go. She doesn't understand that collectible piece because digital world doesn't really have that.
No, none whatsoever. I mean, okay, and me personally, I'm a pretty big gamer. I got 2 different controllers. That way, if one gets too worn, I always got a backup. So you don't get anything extra. 5 years, 6 months. Okay, you buy the super duper extra deluxe digital edition, $99.99, comes with extra stuff. You stop playing the game after 3 months. You don't have any accrued value in it. It doesn't stick around. You can't trade that off to somebody. You can't take a digital deluxe version down to GameStop even and get bent over the barrel there. I mean, shit, at least with Magic cards, you used to be able to get something back out of it. Like Dual Brain was saying here before, you used to be able to get cards, hang on to them, turn them in later, get a better value on it. You know, keep that machine going. I do that here behind the scenes, and shit, man, it's just not the same as it was even 2 years ago when I got back into Magic.
Well,
Shit,
one of
like
the
Trip
sad
says
things I
here, just trying to get by.
one of the sad things I've been hearing in the community a lot, to try to put a positive spin on it, is you're hearing a lot of the crackers out there saying, "Oh, this only affects the investors,"
Hey, what up, pack opening addict?
and I heartily disagree.
Yeah,
I heartily disagree because even the players love cracking a pack for the possibility, the thrill of hitting that
yeah,
$100 card, that $25 card. When you realize that if you drive all of the investors and collectors away because you just there's no method in which it can become valuable because we know everything's just going to get printed and printed again and printed again and printed again, that if something has any value, it would have to be a new card at that point because they're going to drain every cent out of reprint
yeah,
equity
yeah.
at this rate in the next 3 to 5 years. There'll be nothing left, including the reserve list cards.
Yeah, and especially
And
with the rapid pace that they're, machine gunning out sets, with now the introduction of remastered sets, along with mastered sets and jumpstart products that are a culmination of the year's production, we're seeing more and more reprint equity being used up. They're going to the well with buckets instead of spoons now.
yeah, and what I'm saying is that's also going to have an effect. It'll have a trickle-down effect, if you want to call it that, on even current sets, even if you have bomb cards, because people are just going to race to the bottom immediately because the only thing a card can do at this point is
Yeah,
decrease in value. No cards
yeah.
can go up. Not a single card
Yeah,
can go up in value.
and I think a good point on that, personally, from my experience, is with a textured foil we pulled out of the second pack of the Double Masters 22 collectors. Now, we pulled a textured foil Kozilek. Yeah, man, our hands were shaking. $160 card in our hand. Until next week, when it was like 130, and then the week after, and we saw them selling for 90. And now they stay pretty dang low. It was a 30% loss in value right out the gate practically. Same thing with Imperial Seal. We saw that pre-sailing for well into the 200s. Now, man, sub 100 practically across the board. It's wild that you just can't hold on to cards for anything. Is the only value you can have is a play piece.
Yeah.
That's really it. That's got to be the best way for me to express it. Is if you have cards, they better be something you want to use, because otherwise, they don't have much value anymore.
Well, and
Which
there's
is
no
which is
healthy tournament.
fine.
There's no healthy tournament circuit anymore either.
Oh yeah,
With the
that's
massive segue into
yeah.
Commander and other
Hmm.
formats, that they're just, like when I was younger, when I was a young man, I was never a kid when Magic was around, but
Do you want to say
there
back
were
in my
always
day?
tournaments.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to do the get off my lawn back in my day, but there were legit. It was a possibility to get in tournaments if you played well and had the right cards to go make a little bit of money, at least make it a self-sustaining hobby, right? And that's just not the case anymore. You don't have those
Mm.
tournaments hardly anywhere anymore. I don't even know anybody besides Nikachu that's a real competitive, modern player. And it's awful. Like the only real, it seems like they wanted to take, they've done it like quadruple, triple, Lindy, flippy whammy on themselves by putting their competitive circuit on Arena. And okay, you don't need real cards for that. So
Yeah.
like it's like they've done everything they could possibly do to siphon off the value that they've built within 30 years. And I'm going to say this to Pack Opening Addict there. You say outside the reserve list. Let me tell you this. Once they drain all the value out of every possible reprint target, how long until they attack the reserve list?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it'll
Yeah.
be the next target. And purely they'll just go, up, you know what? We'll either remove these cards from the reserve list and reprint them and things, or we'll just abolish the reserve list altogether. Like, I don't even know. I would have said, if I had not seen Magic 30 reprinting the entire beta set, I would have said they would have slowly dripped reserve list cards, ripping them
Right,
one by
trickle them
one.
in some way. Yeah.
And instead, I think the current attitude, unless they change rapidly, that they'll just abolish the reserve list. I think that's coming. I mean, that for me, I love to extrapolate. That's what I do. I look, I analyze, I extrapolate, and if you look at where the current reprint equity is in all of Magic cards, it's in the reserve list. I cannot imagine that they will keep a promise that they don't have to keep, because if you know anything about contract law, it's called consideration. There's no consideration for the reserve list. Look it up. I'm not going to go into that. But there's none. So there's no case to be had. A judge would throw it out immediately. I virtually guarantee it. Talk to another lawyer, and I have a couple years ago online. I didn't pay them for it, but I spoke with a couple of them online when I was trying to look into the reserve list when I made the video 2 years ago, and I didn't understand all of it, and I certainly didn't wrap my head around consideration like when they told me on the on those chats. So I dug into it a little bit, and I'm like, oh well, there's no consideration, meaning Magic got nothing for it. They just made a promise and got nothing for it. Zero, no dollars, no contracts were signed.
Ooh, I
So
like it.
right now, it's just a marketing promise, right? So all they have to do is say, well, this marketing promise is no longer beneficial to us. So we need the reprint equity from the reserve list cards. Goodbye, reserve list. That's how quick it'll be.
Yeah. And we've got some great chat here in the comment section. Thank you guys. I love this back and forth. Keeping it light, keeping it healthy, and that's what we want to see is some good civil discourse here. Oh, Dual Brain, that's funny. Everything should be a nickel. Now, if you buy proxies from makeplayingcards.com using the link below, no, not yet. We're getting there, boys and girls. But cards are getting to the point where, like Pack Opening Addict is saying here, Urza's Incubator was $60. I feel as though getting a reprint of it is great. And Light and Tutor, great card. Man, I wanted to put that in a lot of decks. Could put it in no decks for that price. The value is there, too much so. And now this is a little bit more equitable to what we're getting out of it.
Here's the thing. Like Pack Opening Addict is saying, you print a card, it will always drop for a period, and then these boxes stop getting cracked, and the card is still highly desired, and the creep back up.
Yeah.
Two problems with that.
To some extent. To some extent.
You're basing that off of old practices, of the old way that things used to happen. We're not seeing that same tendency. We're seeing things flatline at best. Here's a problem. That we've always had Magic investors in the market behind the scenes. There's always been people collecting high-value cards, including the Rudies of the world, who've been doing it since the 2000s and me to some extent before that, and always been some others. Many of the investors are just getting out. They see a very bad sign on the wall. Many people are bailing and just selling off their collections at this point. You're losing the equity in the market that is draining off the people that are like, oh, I didn't have that. Let me buy that scrubland. Let me buy that, whatever. You're driving out the investors that don't see much of a future unless things change. Now, will it happen overnight? No, but it's been happening for 3 years. And if it continues for another couple of years, I'm going to tell you, even the diamond hands are going to fold. They're going to get out before it completely goes to zero, just like the crypto investors. And here's the problem. The players don't make those big jumps in card prices. That's not where big money comes from. Big money comes from investors coming in, scooping up 1,500 scarab gods and trying to corner a market and doing things of that nature, having hundreds of copies. Most people buy one copy and then they're done. That doesn't drive the prices up hundreds of dollars for a card or even to $100. It might make it go up to a couple of bucks versus 50 cents. Oh, I'll be happy to be wrong, Pack Opening Addict. I would be ecstatic to be. I love this game.
He honestly means that too, which is funny. That I honestly, from all the conversations, the time we spent talking, I can guarantee you that Bob would rather see these cards be valuable than worthless. It's 100% do it. I want to see where it's going to be at. And that's why I use MTG stocks, is that it quickly displays where cards have been over their entirety of their life cycle. And that's why I'm seeing, right now, Entomb is a $12 card, whereas the original was $42. Magic is, in my opinion, going to continue in this trend. When you get something good like the dragon set. Well, they'll just reprint that in the next version that they can. When they take D&D and smash it into Magic the Gathering again, they'll just reprint the whole cycle. Shit,
If you have
maybe it's
Jewel
like,
Lotuses,
oh
you might
yeah,
want to think
yep,
about selling them jokers. I mean, not financial advice, but that's one of those only ever been printed once. Is not
yeah,
on the reserve list kind of deals. That's
yep,
super high value. There aren't many of them left anymore, folks.
yeah,
Like Ragavan, all of and
mm-hmm,
that's because the boxes are still on the shelves. I think once, like, you can get Modern Horizons 2 fairly cheap, cheaper than you did at release,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it won't. They're waiting for that supply to get out of the warehouses. And Commander Legends 1 is one of those products that they're still not that expensive to get.
Yeah,
Like,
five
once
dollar
it
Jewel
becomes like
Lotus.
Kaladesh, that Joker's getting reprinted.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say $5 Jeweled Lotus. I mean, it depends on how much it gets reprinted.
No,
Of
no,
course.
that was a good joke, I think, is what that is. But
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think with
but
Rudy's
it may
original
not be far off the
evaluation,
truth. It may not
yeah,
be
I
far
mean,
off the truth. Look at
yeah,
freaking Imperial Seal.
yeah, yes, and I think Entomb, like we were just talking about, this is a great example of it. Urza's Incubator, like you guys were saying here in the comment section, Force of Will as well. It definitely took a solid reprint to get those prices back down to where people can get these in decks. So maybe with this, I mean, I want to see the positivity in this. That's one of the things for me, and you'll see it over and over here on the channel, is I want to see that the silver lining in this. If cards are cheaper, maybe you'll see people playing more. You'll have a better deck, a better play experience if people have better cards to put in. Maybe you'll have a better experience. I've been pining over Mystical Tutor for way too freaking long. Enlightened Tutor, boy, that's going in a deck. If I had Sylvan Library in my hand, oh boy, I could do some shenanigans here. But I haven't. I've never had them. And maybe now I can.
But here's the problem, and even from a player's perspective, right? Everybody, whether they say they are or aren't, is aware of the value of the cards, aware that the cards have value. Like, nobody that plays that wants to have a Mystical Tutor or an Enlightened Tutor or a Ragavan is unaware that those cards cost a lot of money. If the values drain and don't rebound appreciably in a relatively short period of time, which the average lifespan of a Magic player is about 2 to 3 years, that is not something that's going to make people want to buy more product and elicit it. And ultimately, if it goes down that downward spiral, that's the death knell for the game. I mean, at least as far as Magic printing them. That's the sad truth of it. People are like, oh, well, we'll still keep playing. How much are you going to keep playing once it falls off the radar? There'll be some. There'll be people that play it. But when all the investors are gone, when most of the collectors are gone, I mean, when I say gone, they still have their collections. They're probably not going to sell them. The collectors will hold on to them just because they do. But when the active market dies, that's when the game dies. I mean, there's plenty of games you just don't even see on TCG Player, right? And how much is a Middle Earth collectible card game limited edition first print box worth? Well, you can't find it on a TCG Player. So, and you know what?
If you can find it on eBay. Yeah. Right.
So, people that, and when they look at it and they realize, hey, it's a $7 pack that I'm only going to get 25 cents worth of cards out of, that, within 6 months, they'll only be worth 25 cents. They're not going to keep buying packs either. The players won't. They'll just proxy shit. And once that happens and they stop selling boxes, don't kid yourself. Hasbro will spin that shit off, or just straight kill it, throw it in the bin, hold on to it in case there's ever what do they call that? The vintage, when that becomes popular again to be vintage or retro.
Oh, right. It's cool
like
to
spin
be
up, like, oh, hey, look, an anniversary print or something,
Yeah.
So they might not even release the IP. Might not be worth selling.
I think Magic is just in such a terrible. I think we have really inept people at the helm of a company that they have no idea what to do with. So, yeah, Bob, do you think the end is coming?
Well,
let me answer. No.
Yes, but the question, that's an insufficient question with insufficient parameters.
This ain't gonna kill
we
Magic.
all
It's just
know
gonna
that
be
the
shit
end
for
is
a
coming
while.
for this game. It won't last forever.
Yeah.
Like, this is not something that's going to go on for generations.
Right. 100 years from now, I don't know if Magic's gonna be around
But
anymore. Yeah.
do I think that they're going to adjust? I think it would be very hard for WotC and Hasbro to adjust with the current leadership that's there. Like, these are the things that they've done. They have to be accountable for the things that have happened. Those people would have to move on, and that's why I say they need a change in leadership. Because you think Cynthia's going to go, whoops, fucked up. Well, just kidding. We're going to try something new now. No, that's not how that's going to go down. The people at the top will be held accountable by the shareholders, right? So I have a feeling, like what Ed's video said, that they're going to do everything in their power, whatever they can do, whatever knobs that they can tweak and buttons they can push to make themselves look good, meaning revenue going up. The hell with long-term viability, don't care. And when it goes up enough, they hang out their shingle and they move on to company, next, whatever
They're
that
able
is.
to say, hey, check out what we did with our last company. We got $1 billion in a year. Check out what, the profits we
Increased
turned out of
revenue,
this.
35% year over year for 4 years. Okay, great.
So,
how?
You should hire me. I'm going to be incredible for your company too.
Yeah.
As
Exactly
they leave the, gasping corpse of Magic the Gathering left behind in a flood of reprinted cards.
Well, now here's things
What up, zombie?
that can happen. If you're asking me to prognosticate of what could possibly happen,
ooh,
well, if it happens fast enough and recognized early enough, they can put a tourniquet on it, actually put out a policy, an irrevocable policy that they make with the public at large, make it much more legal. Though I don't know what they can make if it's not. If there's no consideration, they'd have to sign consideration with LGSs or somebody else in the chain. There actually has to be a contract for them not to reprint certain things or to do things in a certain way, to give people the confidence. Because once you do this, it's like a person that it's like your best friend that stole your wallet. You might forgive them and they might be your friend, but every time your wallet goes missing from now on, first thought is, man, did that person steal it again? Even if you
seriously, if my lighter's gone, I know AJ has it.
Okay, but you understand what I'm saying, right? That there's that. Breaking trust is a horrible thing, and I think at this point, WotC has done that by and large. Though they didn't really break my trust. Like, a lot of people feel that their trust was violated with Magic 30. That's not what they broke my trust with. I just see bad leadership, right? And that's where we're going, and it's going to get worse. I mean, the MTG Lion said it, and he's a pretty smart guy that buys way more Magic than all of us put together. And he said, if you thought 2022 was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. And understand, I think he's doing some manipulation himself, and he, I don't know, has some hate affair with Rudy. I don't really care. But I tend to agree. He's a pretty smart guy. He's an attorney. Rudy has active things he's trying to accomplish, but even he said, man, WotC just can't be that dumb. They can't be that dumb, right? They're too intelligent. Their corporate leadership, are they that dumb? I don't know. Did you watch that video this week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I check out every one of Rudy's videos. Even though he's kind of an idiot, I still think that he makes a lot of really good points.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like, Rudy and I haven't agreed on a whole lot of things, but I agree that he's pointing it out right. That, yeah, what they're doing right now is dumb in terms of a CCG, right? And I just think it's that simple. I don't think it's as complicated and convoluted and all these different conspiracy theories out there. It's just, if you want me to put it in the simplest words possible, they hired the wrong CEO, or not CEO, wrong president for WotC, and combined with the CEO at Hasbro, it just has ineptitude written all over it as far as managing a collectible card game. And at any rate, I think we're in for that. Can it be turned around? That's a bigger and better question. I believe it can. There's nothing factual about that, that I can.
Yeah, right. It's just that pure positivity.
It's
that hope. It's that faith that
somebody else could turn it around.
Yeah.
I do not think that the current leadership can. I really don't. I think it would be too much egg on their face. I think it would be problematic for their. Well, then why did you make these decisions if it was going? It's it's too sticky for them. I think it's got to get a lot worse, so bad that they have to hit the eject button, leave. Then somebody else has to come in, clean up the mess, lay out a game plan, become more transparent. Like if you hired Gaming Bob to just step in and take over, which I would never. Like, like, no, I don't want to do that. First off, I can tell you right now that they would have to pay me more money than they would be willing to pay me to do that. Secondly, I believe in austerity, and it would piss off a lot of people. I don't believe in pandering to everyone. I would do what I believe was healthiest for long-term game survival, and I don't know that it'll die. Right? They're so. It's like saying, what happens if Russia collapses? Shit, nobody knows. Like, does it break up into 25 different states that all have nukes running around, banging shields and stabbing each other in the face, or does it hold as an entire entity, or who knows what the hell's going to happen there? And not even the best experts, and I'm certainly no best expert, but I do believe it can recover, and it can recover without dying. I think it's going to shed it. I'll say this: I think the paper hands and Timmies are in for the roughest ride. Like anybody who's been a flipper or a Timmy.
Yeah, man, my whole outlook on behind the scenes stuff as far as my interactions with cards, what I'm doing with them, has changed drastically, for sure. Yeah. For me personally, this is specifically financial advice. This is how this works out. Is I'm talking about what I'm doing with my finances. So fuck off, algorithm. What I'm doing is I personally feel that single cards for me are no longer worth it in the long run outside of play piece value. If I want them in decks, if I want to hold on to them, if it's a real cool version, those new Mystic Remores look fucking tight. I'm gonna get a couple of those. Shit's awesome. That's my pet card. Cool. I'm gonna keep that fish in every deck. I don't care that it's not worth much. It is what it is. When it comes to me trying to hold on to product, I want to be able to open up Brothers War in 3 years. That's why I got a box of it sitting over there. I think it's going to be real cool when me and my buddy sell off a little bit, or we have like a celebration of his firstborn. That'd be fun. Open up some Double Masters 22 collector. That'd be super cool. So you buy a box and you keep it around. If that's what you want to do with it, for me, that's how I'm going to engage with these products. Like I said, I went to draft for Dominaria Remastered because I want to have that experience. I heard, no joke, we had so many people, 24 people showed up for this event. And I live in in Vermont, so it's not like it's a big area. I, no joke, heard from the other room, I fucking love this set. Yeah, it was incredible. It was a fun time. So many different types of play. So what? That it's not worth much. That was priceless. That's how I'm interacting with Magic. That's my financial fucking advice.
Yeah, and that's the healthy way to approach it for now, is looking at the entertainment value of it only, right? I have lots of boxes, by the way, folks. So, it's I've always said that I don't know what my exit strategy. I hope to never have to sell off the boxes. I want to have the ability in 10 to 15 years, even if it's a dead game, which I think we need to do a video on what would a dead Magic Gathering look like. It's the biggest collectible card game ever, and if you're into any of the old card games that have died, there's still a circuit of it. Like, what does it look like in dead?
That would be interesting. We do what do they call it, a future obituary, where you write out, like, if you were to die tonight, what would your obituary be? Write it up. Do that for Magic. Okay, year 2050, Magic continually ran into the ground. After inept captain, after foolish CEO, it just kept going worse and worse year after year. And as they went by, round after round and sound after sound from their audience, it was terrible. Yeah, something like that would be a fun mock-up to do. And I think it would certainly get people riled up, and we'd have a lot of interaction in the audience with their cares and comments about our thoughts.
No, it'd certainly just be a bunch of prognosticating, because there's no way to know what it would look like. Does somebody pick up the ability to create a tournament circuit for a dead game? If there's any that has a chance, it would be Magic. And people create custom Magic cards. That's a thing already. AI generates Magic cards already.
Yep. Yep.
There's no way to see into a crystal ball to what could happen in the future, even if they continue down this path of draining all of the tangible value. And there's a lot of value left still there. There's still a bunch of cards out there that are worth some money. Edgar Markov is one that comes to mind that needs a reprint. But when it does, if you don't think they have everything over $10 on a list of reprint, you're out of your mind, right? At a minimum, they're targets for the list, right? And we don't even look. Let's discuss that for a quick second, right? All the ways that they're reprinting cards, right? You have reprint sets. Look, I don't know when the first reprint set was. We can look on Echo MTG real quick and see what the first reprint set that I can identify. Maybe Time Spiral. Does that sound about right?
Is it Chronicles?
Nah, I mean maybe Chronicles. Sure.
Are we going to be dicks like that?
I mean,
if you want to say like that, yeah.
Actually, Unlimited is the first reprint set. And
yeah. So I mean, this is.
But I mean, I'm talking about high value where they just went after high value. Chronicles is one which created the reserve list, right? Now we celebrate these kind of things, right? So, and not only that, you used to have them so infrequently after Chronicles, right? There was no reprint sets. I don't even remember cards really getting reprinted in sets. Like they didn't reprint cards very much in the sets for a long time, right? You had the base sets that they called them, where it was the same groupish of cards with a few added to it every year, which was low reprint occurrence, right? And Ed did a video on this, the occurrence of reprint sets. But I'm talking about when they really started. Was it Modern Masters when they said, let's go after the high value ones? I think Time Spiral back in
Time Spiral, yeah,
2006 was like the first, like testing the boundaries of it. But then when was the first like Masters that came out, right? That's really where they got addicted. So Modern Masters in 2013, does that sound right?
Yeah, thereabouts. I mean, I wasn't playing at that point, but from what I've seen looking back at charts and just looking at cards, yeah.
And then you don't have it again. Oh, geez, when was the next one?
Conspiracy was considered
Modern Masters 2015. So about every 2 years, right? From there until 20. Well, we'll call it 2020, right?
Modern Masters 20.
And then they printed, double Masters, and then about 7 or 8 months later they printed Time Spiral Remastered, and then double Masters, and then you have Dominaria Remastered. So the occurrence, the increase in occurrence of reprinting sets much more rapidly in reprint sets, right? That's
it's great points there, Ed.
Yeah. It's increasing the pace at which they're coming up with these reprint sets, where it looks like it's at least once a year, if not twice a year now. And
it wouldn't be surprising before too long. I mean, we'll end up shit. I was just gonna make the point that we'll end up seeing Commander decks that are just reprints. Yeah, well, didn't we? Isn't Heads I Win, Tails You Lose just a reprint set? Like 100 reprinted cards, just in different versions. So. I don't think there's anything new in them. And I think that that's something we might well see going ahead in the future. I was listening to some stuff about copyright and trademark law and such, specifically in reference to Magic the Gathering. And also D&D. It was a whole Wizards of the Coast Hasbro kind of smorgasbord. Go ahead, check it out. It's by Legal Eagle. The guy's quite smart and dressed as well, so check it out. But one of the things that they talked about, gonna get too sidetracked here, Bob. Let's stay on topic.
Well, I mean, the point that I was trying to make is that with the increase in frequency of reprint sets, they're not giving the market time to heal. Before cards can recover, which is what we're saying, that they always print them and then they recover. Well, they don't if you don't give them time to recover. If you keep picking at a wound, it never heals, and that's what we're seeing. And they're showing us clearly, because let's talk about the different ways that they reprint it. So you have the reprints within sets. That's always occurred. It's been sparing, like the Liliana in Dominaria United. But look at the effect that one reprinting had. That you had, the reprint, which seems pretty quick to me, of Dockside in Double Masters 2022.
Yeah.
And that only came in a commander deck, which was harder to get. And Tarmogoyf is a perfect example. I mean, that's been out for a long time, and that Joker just doesn't recover. And many of these, we think that they're highly wanted cards because you want them, but they're not all that highly played. They really aren't. And they're not going to recover that quickly. The people that wanted them and they got cheap, well, congratulations, they got cheap. And the problem is that WotC has a mentality that if it starts getting value, they're just going to print it until it doesn't. I mean, that seems like a clear direction that they're going. They want all the game pieces to be cheap. And if you crush, like what Ed's saying right there, you can see the people that are opening it and they think, oh, it's only affecting the investors, that eventually it'll recover. It won't. Because unless they change leadership, they're just going to reprint it again if it gets value. That's their mantra.
Yep.
And when you do that, you drive people away, including
unless you keep pounding out enough sets. If you can make new banger cards and keep the power creep going forward, that's, I think, the alternative to how they're addressing this reprint problem, as they're making new cards with more equity, like Dockside and Ragavan over just the last few years. We didn't see them in the original Master sets because we didn't have those bangers quite yet. And we're talking about like Jeweled Lotus. Why, for us, it's a good time to sell because it's going to get reprinted soon enough. Yeah, but it also just came out, 2 years ago? 3 at this point? So stuff like that. We're talking about the Triomes. Came out during the pandemic, which for some people we're still in. So we'll see those Triomes again soon enough for sure. But we're still seeing good cards come out. And I think that's helping combat some of the reprint issue. Is bangers be popping?
Well, but again, like there's only so much that you can recover when they're so common because people do rotate out, right? And then they sell their cards off. So when there's a high enough supply out there, you want me to point out to it? Look at Fallen Empires. Not that there's banger cards, but in relative terms, it was always a bad set, but there was always a few cards that had some playability, had some decent utility for a long time. There are some unique cards that do unique things in Fallen Empires and Homelands.
Yeah.
But they were printed in large enough quantity that they just never recovered. That was what part of the problem is that they printed so much of it that, there's even Ice Age. If you're going to tell me the Jester's Cap isn't something that's just like brutal, if you've never played against a Jester's Cap, I encourage you, throw that in one of your commander decks and see what impact it has on a game.
Yeah.
People are going to go, what's that card? That's ridiculous. What do you mean? You took my what?
Oh, no, but I was going to, damn it. That's
you
my
took my
thing.
3 win cons out of my deck? Oh, and now you're going to recur it from your graveyard and do it again to the next person?
Yeah.
That's busted.
But now I can't win with Approach of the Second Sun.
But how much is the card?
Yeah.
How much is the card?
230, I think.
Right?
Yeah.
So it really doesn't have to do necessarily with how good a card is. Just it's buzz. It really is. Like, there's so many great cards that people look at and go, what? If you don't think that's the truth, play with Telepathy in a commander game.
Oh, yeah. So I have actually done exactly that.
How much is it? 15 cents?
Yeah, it's worthless for like many reasons. Yeah. And Jester's Cap is currently 42 cents.
Okay. That exactly my point, man.
Yep.
They're backbreaking.
That's hilarious. And like in like a sadistic sort of way where it's this is what it is. I mean, I'm along for the fucking ride. I'm down to see where this goes. I'm going to stick with it for the long haul. I'm just going to have to continue to change how I interact with the products.
Yes.
That with less of, I don't care about anything happening in Phyrexia. I want pretty much nothing to do with this whole line. I think for me, financial advice from Pat for Pat, talking to myself out loud here live with all y'all wonderful people, is I'm not going to buy a whole lot this coming year. If anything, the next 24 hours when it clears in my bank account is the majority of the products I'm going to buy until supposedly Q3 of this year, Lord of the Rings. And that's only if it's going to be good, because that's another product they might well just fuck up and AFR to it. You know,
Yeah.
who knows?
Please
I
don't say that.
I,
Like,
I was
please
a
don't.
huge I actually have literally hundreds of dollars of Forgotten Realms books. Yeah, that's right. Actual printed paper, people. Yeah, I sometimes lay in bed and read books. No joke. And they screwed up all those characters when they printed Adventures in Forgotten Realms. And there's a great chance that they're going to do the same thing. For
No, no. I'm going to be positive and say no. It's going to be awesome.
it's going to be the best
I
thing
need it to be
ever,
awesome,
Bob.
man, because I got
Yeah.
nothing else to look forward to this year. Seriously, like I got nothing else to look forward to in the world of Magic. And that's going to make these Saturdays kind of drag if it doesn't get better quick.
Well, I think one of the things that we'll actually start seeing on this channel is more live gameplay.
Commander Raid play.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be able to play with some people from our subscriber and patron communities to be able to have specialty live games of Commander Raids for y'all. I think that'll be a great time showing some of the incredible cards, showcasing stuff from the past. And I'd like to be able to,
Showing us losing our asses off at times because that's just
oh,
the way. That's just
absolutely.
the way the
I
cookie
mean,
crumbles.
I've played Back Opening Addict a number of times, and I very rarely win. If it wasn't for like some mathematical mistakes, I wouldn't have won the other night either. It's fun, the decks you get to see people play, the cards you've never heard of, the strategies you've never thought of, the interactions you can't believe. Yeah,
You want to know something?
It's a great game.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just thinking, and for the audience here, like I'm doing my part to try to keep things afloat a little bit. Literally just before we started the stream tonight, and Pat doesn't even know this, so this is an exclusive that Pat doesn't even know. I bought a box of Magic cards literally 10 minutes before going on stream. With the full intention that box is getting opened.
What?
You want to guess what set it is?
What?
Yeah, you want to know what set it is?
Yeah. What? I was that was half joking, but absolutely serious for the rest of it.
Baldur's Gate set box.
Oh yeah, actually, I gotta buy mine too. Yeah, we're gonna do.
What I'm saying there is, I'm doing what I can. I'm not just negative Nancying. I want the game to survive,
and the stores that help provide these wonderful experiences too.
But I also want the Holocaust to never have happened. But if you close your eyes and say it didn't happen, well, that's just awful for so many different reasons.
I've seen those idiots on Jerry Springer before.
And so if I close my eyes and say these things are not happening in Magic right now, that doesn't make it not happen. And extrapolating is just kind of a thing that I do. Prove me wrong, show me wrong. I'll be happy.
Yep.
The way that I've been wrong, as a matter of fact, if Coach is still here, he can rub it in. I thought the Dominaria United collector boxes wouldn't drop below 200. Egg on my face. I was wrong with Cavern of Souls, though.
That is super surprising.
Somewhat happily, but only by a couple of bucks. I have your copy. I just need your address. I said it would go down to 42, and it got down to what? Like 45 was the cheapest, I think. I snapped out of.
I think
so I missed it by a couple of bucks. I wasn't super wrong, but I was, I was wrong. So I owned up to it.
Skin of the teeth on that one, though.
And it's not like, oh, look, I'm bragging. I need to be right about things. I oftentimes am right about things. I don't feel good at all about being right about them. That's not always the case. And I never like saying, see, told you so. But what I hate even more is seeing people, my finances are straight, right? And in this game, I wouldn't say that about many of the people I see in the audiences. I feel bad for people of lesser means. I'm not rubbing anything in. But I insulated myself before I started buying boxes, before I started buying cases, before I started buying, high-value cards. That is pure entertainment money. That's the only money that I've spent and the only money I'm willing to spend. And I'm willing to spend even less of it moving forward this year. So I haven't put myself in the hole. I don't have anything on credit cards. I buy things for pure entertainment value. If it goes to zero, it's like buying a scratch off for me. And for many other people, I'm sure it is. But I won't say many. For a few, that's probably the case. But for many out there, you're buying these things hoping that there's going to be value, hoping that it'll help your YouTube channel and somehow it'll make money for you. And people are spending money. If you're waiting for a paycheck to buy Magic, there's a problem.
Oh, fuck, dog. Yeah, that's the wrong thing to do. Like, okay, so, again, I live up in Vermont, and sometimes shit gets a little hairy. The water went out for, like, 5 hours. I was like, what the fuck do I do without water? Am I just gonna go to the store and buy water? Like, is this something I've never thought about before? It was like instantly worried. It was like, well, I've got like 12 beers. I can make it through the night. I won't be too dry. But that kind of shit. I mean, if you're not well prepared for your future and you're spending money on Magic the Gathering, that's not being more prepared for your future. There's way more
No.
important things you could be spending your money on. This is a hobby. This is extraneous money. That is all you should be spending on this. Do not hedge bets on a fucking cardboard hobby. Like it's a game. You don't hedge bets on Halo. Get the fuck out of here, people. Like no.
And that's where I started. You know what I'm saying? Is that's where I even started the YouTube channel. Is that I feel like so many people just encourage the rah rah rah. Not I'm trying to be negative Nancy, but I try to spit out facts as best I see them. And I am wrong from time to time. I get more right than I get wrong. But I'm sharing this with all of you for free. I make zero money from any of this. I don't ever intend to because I don't care to.
Yeah.
But I do care to talk to people, and I feel for all of you that are struggling, and those that it really matters if your cards go to zero. I'll tell you what, I don't care if my cards drop. There's nothing in me that says, "Oh my God, let me pull out all my valuable cards and sell them right now because I don't want them to lose their value." Fuck it. If it goes down, oh well, so what? And if it goes
100%.
up, cool.
Yeah, to me, up until this point, as I have always felt, opening up a pack of Magic cards was like going to the casino. Whatever you have spent on it, you have to be prepared to lose every penny on it. And luckily, we get to walk away with an actual physical product, a game piece that had a residual monetary value. People got too used to it. That's not how it fucking works. Like in the long run, to me, so far it seems as though people were interacting with Magic the Gathering cards in a different way than I was, in a fundamental stance. And we're going through a shift now where those people are getting burned very hard. I love them to death, and it's just
if I see that sort of trend change in the Magic community, I think we'll get to a healthier place and talk about the game differently. But I think right now we're in that transition period. The draining of value is to hold on to your shorts, people, interact with the game differently in a healthy way. I've seen it happen with phone games, like with the Clash of Clans and those type of things where you have microtransactions and people dropping lots of money. There was a Facebook game I used to play a lot called it was Avenger Alliance. It was a Marvel game.
I thought you were going to say Farmville for a second.
No, but when they shut off those servers and I had dropped like $400 or $500 in the game, I felt pretty bad about it. I'm not going to lie. And I think that in a similar fashion that can happen here. So people just need to adjust their thinking. But saying, "Oh, things are going to go back up," I think that's wishful thinking. There's nothing to indicate that that's going to be the case. As a matter of fact, there's more to the contrary to say that, "Oh, they're just going to reprint everything again and again and again and again until everything is cheap." Like, I think that's what we're in for. That is the current horizon that I see with Magic until personnel changes. That's just the truth as I see it. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop altogether. It means I'm stopping my investment part of it. I don't want to have tons of heavy bags, 10 years down the road because, oh, shit, we weren't aware that they were printing the dog shit out of these things. And we are. So be aware of that. And if you're worried about the financial value, like Pat said, if anybody's cracking Dominaria Remastered, any card you get out of there, sell that Joker this weekend. Sell it now.
Yeah.
Sell it fast.
Yep.
Jeweled
or
Lotuses.
Keep it. Or put
Jokers.
it in decks that you want to keep. Yeah.
I'm saying if you're worried about the financial value.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, shit. Even if I loved it, I would definitely get rid of my fucking Jeweled Lotuses had I not already.
Yeah. I mean, I have my Jeweled Lotuses and I'm keeping them, but I'm a different bird.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I just share opinions based on what I see. And so long as people truly do, like, Prime, you called me out, buddy, saying, set your expectations to be lower. I think you also have to set your expectations not only with what you're about to open, but what you currently own. That's the way of it.
Yeah.
And maybe if things turn around, if there's new leadership and they come up with a much better game plan, there's always people out there that have amazing ideas and can turn a product around. There are amazing people out there. The Zuckerbergs, the Elon Musks of the world that they come along with a banger idea and suddenly, light up the world with it. Then things can become great again. Can Magic be great again? Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
They've already proven that they have a fanatic audience who's
Yeah.
basically burying their head in the sand at the
Yes,
moment.
I think
Uh-oh.
fanatic is a great example of the word as well here. Yeah. Not just
So it can
fans, but
recover.
actual fanatics. Yeah.
That yes, I think that it creates a loyal following and has a loyal following. Hell, I've been in 28 years playing Magic, and well, I don't know, 29 now, I guess. At any rate, um, they have that kind of fanatic following. People that don't eat so that they can. I think that was how Magic Lion put it. Said that he knew people in his chat were skipping meals so they could buy Magic cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, oof,
I've heard that
that
story before. Kids not getting their lunch and keeping that lunch money and going down to their corner
that's a
store and
fanatic
getting some
devotion.
cards. Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you have that, can you recover? Absolutely. That's the hopeful silver lining here. If I didn't think there was a possibility of it recovering, I don't know. I think I'd be talking to you seriously about switching to, hey, why don't we talk a little bit about Lorcana? Because I don't know if you saw it, but they're starting to release some other cards and other card mechanics, starting to see some leaks.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
don't think I
So
have yet.
that was tantalizing. I need to
Yeah.
talk with you about that because it's like I'm trying to follow the news on that a little bit and keeping my finger on the pulse there. It could turn out to be
Oh,
a shit bird. Who knows? But it's more appealing to me that I think that has a
right.
brighter projection because it hasn't
And
even released yet.
just yeah, I mean some of the philosophy stuff that I've gotten into, I have heard a great line before, and I'll quote it here. All the things you say no to, you are able to say yes to others.
Yeah.
So by saying no to Magic the Gathering products that you don't want, that you're unhappy about, for me, I'm not going out and buying every new set. It's been something that died out for me over the last year or so because I got a sour taste in my mouth from it. So I'm going to go ahead and take that money and do other things with it. I'm going to be able to say yes to trips out with my boys. I'm going to be able to hook up a nice new computer over here. Treat myself in other ways instead of having Magic cards all the time. For boxes, engaging with new products, not for me for the next little bit, but saying yes to all sorts of other things. Maybe looking back at some older sets. Like I said, and you've seen here on my channel, I've been cranking out shorts of all sorts of cool stuff. I was able to open an original Theros today, Fate Reforged, some cool things I had never gotten my hands on, like mystery convention boosters. Shit's cool. Look back at Magic and engage with products like that. You're gonna be way happier than any of the bullshit from Phyrexia. Pat says in financial advice to himself.
Well, here I'm actually going to say hallelujah for Brian Giles there at 806. If you want to put that up there, I think that is the motto for 2023 for Magic. I
Heck yeah.
100% support that. For most people, especially for the expensive cards, right? Cards that stand the greatest chance of losing a lot of value, unless you are a big tournament player. And if people are even listening in the audience, can we get a poll up to say just all we need is do you play in Magic the Gathering tournaments that have money as a payout, or just like are you on the Pro Tour, right? Because that's the only ones that have money payouts, right? Like you don't when people say they play in Magic tournaments, and they're talking about getting some packs at a local place. Is it worth it to buy $500 worth of cards, to play in the tournament to win, to get, $25, $30, $40 worth of packs? Not in my opinion. So do you play in tournaments? Do you play in sanctioned tournaments? To see how many people in the audience do that, because I'd be shocked if there's more than 25% of the people that do. And I'd be very shocked overall in the Magic world if more than 5% of the players out there that buy Magic products actually play in sanctioned tournaments. I would venture a guess no, they don't. So if you don't, why would you not? Instead of spending $100 on, I don't even know what's $100 card anymore. Do we have any? Edgar Markov, right? He's pretty close to 100.
Yeah, for a bit.
Is it worth it for you, considering that's anything over $50 is getting hot on their list? Jeweled Lotus, there we go. That's a perfect one. If you don't own a Jeweled Lotus, why buy it right now?
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah,
I would get it if I didn't own it. I would have a proxy for sure. If I felt I needed it in the deck, I would
1000%
buy a proxy right now of any expensive cards. So there's no reason not to have proxies if you're not a tournament player. And most people don't play in tournaments. And even the tournaments that people say they play in, if you really question them about it, it's local bullshit at their game store. Even if they're modern decks or whatever. They're not trying to get on the pro tour. That's all arena shit at this point. So it's a very different state of affairs. So yes, 2023 with the current environment, with the current economic state of Magic, yes, I think proxies is certainly the way to go for most people, since most people don't make that much money that play Magic. That's what you should do, right? It doesn't hurt you to own it that way. Don't try to sell it. Don't be a douchebag and
right.
Try to scam people. But make yourself that proxy to play the decks you want to play for now.
Yeah.
And then if things turn around and it looks better, start buying real Magic cards at that point. I think that is the way to go. That would be my suggestion for my children, right? And I hope other people start taking a look at that. I think everybody needs to clamp down. And if we clamp down, guess what? They will change. They'll come up with different ways to appeal. Like, basically, they're having their cake and eating it too. To me, honestly, I see WotC, and I wish it was like a kid who, mom just brought in the groceries, and then, oh, hey, honey, I got to run back to the store for 30 minutes and left the pack of Oreos out on the counter. And he goes, "Can I have one, Mom?" And then she comes back, and the whole pack is eaten. Right? That's what they're doing. They don't eat one Oreo or a couple. Yeah. They ate the whole damn box of Oreos, bag or whatever container that's in. That is the way Magic is being run right now. They can't help themselves. And they're printing everything into extinction. So plan accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, be smart about how you want to interact with their products. I mean, they've specifically said exactly that. It was always an unsaid thing for me just because I thought everybody already knew that. And I'm glad Blake came out and was able to tell us correctly that, don't buy shit that's not going to be for you. And not everything they make is for you. So don't buy
all what's ironically funny about that? You're right. You pointed, it just dawned on me. That statement from Blake, like, he took a lot of shit for that. But if people followed his advice that he gave, you'd be very happy.
Yeah, like
that you followed that advice. That he gave it before all this, Fireside Gate happened, before the real hatred all came out. Don't, just engage with things the way that you want to. And that was more prophetic, I think, than he maybe even intended. But absolutely, a WotC employee that high up said, engage with the product the way the products that you want to, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely sagely advice to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Yup. I think is going to be the best way to sum it all up right there. Yup. I mean, so far to me, Dominaria Remastered has been a fun set. A lot of good cards I never got my hands on, and I would love to see box prices get really low so I can get more of it.
That's another thing.
Sort of 50%.
I did that with Star Wars Destiny this year. I bought maybe 16 boxes.
Oh, geez.
So that I can, crack that shit. Now I bought them at like 50% of what their retail used to be. I think I bought the packs at like $1.50 a piece.
And Bob, I think this is a great opportunity to take a little bit of time and speak about some of the things that we've been chatting behind the scenes. A couple of times we've mentioned it here, but Gen Con 23. I really am looking forward to this. It's something I just got the time off approved at my work. We went over our calendar, our schedule of events. So I've got a 6-day span taken off there. Yeah. I want to make sure I've got time blocked off before and after. I'm a pretty safe traveler. I want to make sure everything's just right. And if I'm flying out, I'd like to be a bit flexible with my flights if I can. It'd be fun, even though you guys are probably not up for it. I'd like to spend a half a day kind of just checking out the city. Never been to Indianapolis before. Should be a fucking great time, especially in August. So
I'm sure Lance can show us around a little bit. He's from that area, and we know some people there.
That'd be wicked fun. And, it's not just a Magic the Gathering thing. Specifically, it's not focused at that. There's going to be all sorts of other stuff. So by saying no to all sorts of the, to me, cruddy products in the upcoming shoot, we get to say yes, yes, yes to all these other incredible things. I actually got invited by the LGS owner to come by Tuesdays after they close up shop and check out some of the games that he's got coming in. So
Nice.
one of the discussions we had was that in the format we've been cooking up, we're going to go ahead and post the link, Bob, if you could please for me, to the Discord server. So we want to get ideas from other games, different IPs and entities, so we can incorporate some of their incredible mechanics into Commander raids. As we go ahead and further innovate it, we're going to try and get some of the best ideas other people have come up with. It's like they say, good writers, what is it? Good writers steal, bad writers, was it bad writers steal, good writers write, great writers steal. So it's the same kind of thing here. If we want to make the best format, we've got to kind of take things from other places as well. So we're going to cook as much up from it as we can, kind of do a little recon mission while we're out in Gen Con, and just have a great old time.
Yeah, I just put the Discord link for Commander Raids. And so you can reach both of us if you don't have our current Discord. I think I show up as MTG Gaming Bob. You'd have to confirm that, Pat. Is that how I show up on Discord? I think I changed my nickname there. If not,
Yeah,
it's probably Nicodemus.
No, it's still MTG Gaming Bob.
So, yeah, I mean, definitely Gen Con. And that doesn't mean that there's going to be a small footprint for Magic. If it's anything like the last time I went, which has been a good 5 or 6 years now, Magic is massive there because I was out of Magic by and large during that period when I went there. I was much bigger in board games, and that was why I went to Gen Con. But when I got there, I remember being a little upset that so much of the game floor was taken up by Magic the Gathering players. Like, I remember calling it MTG Con is what I remember saying when I left there, because it was just of the people playing games. And so understand the format, the way that it works. So if you have a specific game that you like the, Zombicide, and you want to try it out and check it out and see how it's played and all that, there are all kinds of events. Like, they have a phone book of events that you can go to and schedule and pay for and play, and some of them give out special like promos and shit when you do that, or have a special type of gameplay with this, one-off rule set you can take home and play with your friends. Just all kinds of different stuff. But understand those games, they're scheduled, right? And there's a small schedule, like, oh, it's at 2:00 on Saturday. So if you want to try the Zombicide special thing, you got to sign up for the Zombicide 2:00. Or if you want to try Clank, that's on Friday at 10 p.m., right? Or whatever game. They're just like maybe a couple of them per day for most of the board games. For Magic, it starts every 15 minutes for the entire weekend. And there's just hundreds of people playing perpetually there. They have different formats and things, but by and large, it was mostly Magic that had perpetually running games, right? I think there was D&D stuff too, but Magic was one of the ones that anytime you get there or whatever you have available, you can sit down and play Magic. There'll be something available to play. So it has a very big presence at Gen Con. For those of you that don't know, that's where Magic the Gathering was first released in 1993, was at Gen Con. I think it was in Wisconsin at the time. Now it's in Indianapolis. So that will be happening since we're talking about it. That happens, was it the August 3rd through the 6th? Is that right?
Yes, I do believe those are the dates.
And it's not super expensive either.
Now. No, they actually just released the badge prices, which were pretty fair, actually, compared to what a lot of things are. I think it was $125, give or take, for the entire weekend pass.
Nice. Yeah, that's not very expensive to me.
No.
But that doesn't get you anything other than in the door. You're not going to get a swag bag like you did with WotC. But it gets you in the door. And just being there, it's sensory overload. Holy moly. That's a lot to take in if it's going to be your first time. And it's big. There's a lot of people there. Massive sprawling area. It's so much fun. It really is. But that's definitely something I'm going to look forward to. You'll probably have to put up with me, picking up a game that just looks cool. I do that. I just like, oh man, that game looks cool. Let me buy that, and we'll go sit down and play it somewhere. right? And that just happens. Spontaneous gameplay from some cool ass board game or card game or miniature game. Miniatures are a little harder to deal with.
I'm down
There's all
for
kinds of
all of
social
this.
events
Yeah,
and
and I,
panels.
we were talking, Matt and I, and you as well. We were all checking out, hotels and stuff. We've got a pretty solid dedication on this. So at this point, we're looking tentative, but stronger and stronger as we get closer to this. I'm getting pumped for this, man.
I mean,
I don't have any. Yeah.
it's what 6 months away, 7 months away.
7,
Which really
8, yeah, 7 months.
7 months, a little
just
less.
under.
Actually, it's less than 7 months. Actually,
Yeah.
but barring something, dastardly happening, I'm going. So if you guys want to meet me in person, come out to Gen Con. I am not going to any of the other Magic events this year. Ed will be my proxy in Philly for picking up some stuff I want, but
right.
I don't intend to go, and I encourage you to go do those things. That's where you're going to find the fun in Magic. I think if you go to one of those events, you're going to have a fantastic time. So I don't discourage that at all.
135 for the 4-day.
Okay. Still.
And they also release their health and safety stuff, and you will not require proof of vaccination or mask during the convention.
That's a change.
Yes.
They changed that from last year.
Yeah, we are seeing a great improvement for the entertainment quality of our time spent in Indianapolis.
Also, I want to get some cool thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a great time.
It's not a horrible city. I mean, it's not. It's no offense to any of you that live in Detroit, but it's no Detroit.
Yeah, right. It's no Hartford, Connecticut, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like parts in Jersey where I'm like, ooh, don't break down cars.
Oh please. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's sketchy as F. Was it? Yeah. And then like Scranton, I think was another one that didn't look revealing in Buffalo, and I was like, ooh.
Whenever I drive through Springfield, Mass, I'm like, I'm not going to stop here. Like, I can hold this. Like, my car says I have another 30 miles. I bet I could make that. I just need to be on the other side of this shithole. That's right, Springfield.
But that's not Indianapolis. Indianapolis, I mean, it wasn't like the cleanest. Downtown was pretty cool. And they had all kinds of, like, if you like cart food, I guess is the best way I can put that.
Oh, like food trucks and stuff.
Of it right outside.
Oh, man, I'm down for that.
There was a lot of that, like just right outside. So it's a very alive event. I mean, very animated, lots of stuff going on. You want to get drunk? That shit. I don't know. Does anybody know what the if weed is legal there? I have no idea.
Oh, that's a
it's anything like Vegas. Holy shit! It was almost disgusting because you're walking through a cloud of that shit outside of every casino. I was like, all right, that's enough. Like, serious. I support that shit, but don't blow it in my face every 5 seconds. That's just offensive. I don't know what the consumption laws are there, but I'm gonna tell you, it's a party atmosphere. Like, I was watching something today. It was it's funny if we can if you'll allow me to stray way off topic here. In nerddom, it was with Henry Cavill. I was watching some of his interviews, and he had the girl who.
Gamer, huh?
What's that?
He's a real big gamer.
Yeah, I mean he appears to be a legit no shit nerd. Right. And I like that. And I was down with that. And he was talking with the guy who played the Bard. And they were talking about, and they were on a Felicia Day's show, I guess. If you know who Felicia Day is.
No.
She's the redheaded gamer nerd girl who's gotten nerddom famous. And she started with the Guild on YouTube. If you've never watched that series, it's kind of funny if you've ever played World of Warcraft. At any rate, she was interviewing Henry Cavill, and he was talking about his love affair. It was about The Witcher, but he was talking about his love affair with Warhammer 40K, and the female co-star, the one who played the little girl. I don't know. Did you watch The Witcher? Spoiler here. So
yeah.
If you don't want to have spoilers about like The Witcher, the one that got like they put the Witcher juice in her or whatever you want to call that stuff.
Yeah.
The little blonde girl.
He put his Witcher juice in her.
Yeah, well, she's sitting there, and so I think Felicia Day was like, "Oh, that's so cool," and Henry Cavill was like, "Maybe." And the co-star she would have done well like in '80s Mean Girl territory. She goes, "In some circles," it's like she just kept snarking and laughing at like nerd shame. Why, if you can't fat shame and all these other things you can't say in today's world, it's still okay to nerd shame? I don't get that. Like, I really don't get it. Like, that's. I was like, all right, you lost a few points in my book, honey. Like, that was just uncalled for in a vibe on a show called like Geeked Up, I think is the name of the show that they were even on. So you go onto a Geeked Up show to be interviewed, and you're snarfing at nerddom. Like, what? Get off the fucking show. I would have kicked her off. I'd have been like, get out of here, leave. We don't deal with nerd shaming here. And at any rate, that I had to replay it. I'm like, really? How is that even acceptable in today's world? Like, that's just get back. I've been dealing with that. Like, I played D&D when it was not socially acceptable in any fashion in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's when Revenge of the Nerds came out all over the place.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
It was not a good time to be a nerd. And I never hit it. I just didn't care. Like, I've always been a nerd. I'm going to always be a nerd.
Yeah.
And to me, I thought that was a little uncalled for. So be proud to let your nerd flag fly, folks. Like, I'm okay with it. I tell people at work I play Magic, invest in Magic. I talk about Magic cards. Even in a corporate setting, people look at me, nerd. I'm like, yeah, no shit. I'm an IT guy, right?
It's
software developer. Get bent.
It is what it is, and I think it's changing more and more as we go forward. I mean, it just by nature kind of has to.
It's funny. The first thing I want to do with people that like nerd shame me. All right, fine. Don't want to talk about nerd stuff. Let's have a trivia challenge. Let's go. Let's do a battle of wits. Bring it, bitch. I own your face.
Well, when Matt kind of premiered the program that he's been designing, people were like losing room in their pants because of how awesome his nerdom is. Like, yeah, this is a great example of that. Don't be sour. Damn, Karen, get out of here.
Yeah, people. I guess maybe the cool people.
Nerds run the fucking world. Like, seriously, Jeff Bezos, the richest fucking guy in history, like, goddamn ever. Followed up by like, what did he do? Figure out how to sell books on the internet? Like, the fucking internet. Like, get out of here. Without like some of the geekiest, nerdiest shit in the world. Between how I'm able to like use this microphone and this camera, look at my TV and talk to Bob on like the other side of the fucking continent. Yeah, of course, nerds run the goddamn world. They made our current world. Like, Brian, they are making our future world.
Brian, who do you think pays for those cocktail parties? Who do you think's hosting it? Probably some nerd.
Yeah, right. Some rich fuck who got like a huge the Shopify motherfuckers,
So just whatever. And I'm glad that happened. I guess in the Bible, because I guess you would describe nerds as somewhat meek growing up. So I guess the meek did inherit the earth. That happened.
Yeah.
So not going all religious on you, because I'm not a religious person, but yeah, it's ironic that did happen, and it's happening and continuing to happen. That the muscle bound club you over the head Neanderthals are kind of disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, like we were just talking about, Henry Cavill, he's famous because he's handsome, because he's an actor. He's liked because he's relatable, because he plays board games, he plays video games, he's into comic books and checking out fantasy. Yeah, he's relatable. That's why people like him. Same thing with Brendan Fraser. It's not just because he was a wonderful actor. No, it's because he was pretty damn normal. Like Paul Rudd, he's just a regular fucking guy for the most part.
Yeah, Paul Rudd is so cool. Whoever talks about Paul Rudd and drops shit on him, throws shade? Nobody.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, people will crap on Ant-Man because I get that, but they're not like Paul Rudd's terrible. He's the worst. Ant-Man's just kind of like.
I didn't watch the second one. I think there's a third one coming up.
Yeah.
I liked the first one. It was funny. It was lighthearted. It was one of the ones I enjoyed. It was one of the few that I actually still
Joe
Yeah, I mean,
Manganiello. There
yes,
you go.
we can keep going. We keep naming all the hot, big buff dudes, but not all of us are big, hot, and buff, and we all have value. And to be shit on simply because you decide to elect to take your time to take a break from the world in fantasy or nerddom, rather than sitting and constantly eating the Cardassians and other worthless bullshit. At
Ugh.
least in the nerddom, it's usually somewhat intellectual. Right?
Yeah.
Even if it's just manga or whatever, like I listen to people go off. There's different parts of nerddom I'm no part of, and I don't shame them for it. It's just not my jam, and that's fine. Not every nerd has to accept every nerd thing.
Yeah.
Well, not
True.
every nerd has to like every nerd thing, but you need to accept that people like things that you don't. But listen to
Yeah.
people talk about the manga and all the different abilities of this dude and that dude. That is a
Yeah.
memory
Yeah.
ability. I'm going to tell
Yeah.
you right now, following all that shit and keeping all that shit in line, that is an exercise in memory, and memory is tied closely to intelligence. You have to remember a great number of things. Not only that, they're putting it together, they're putting it into games. Nerds just don't stop at, oh, look at that, that's cool.
Yeah.
They
It's funny.
absorb things and
Yeah.
incorporate it.
So, like, as we're doing this conversation, I'm looking at the Gen Con stuff here, just trying to get acclimated with some of the, different offerings that they have. And I see at the bottom that they're sponsored by Catan Studios. I was just thinking, I've never played that game. I hear it's great. That would be really
It's fun.
fun. And it's like, oh, this will be an opportunity to do exactly that. Like, go and enjoy more stuff. I think Magic, like we've talked about, is in a slump right now. I think it's in a terrible time. And I'm not really looking forward to what it's going to be doing. So I get to have a great time doing other stuff. Don't get me wrong, like, I'll still be engaging with Magic the Gathering product. Shit, I'm looking at getting some Ikoria or Commander Legends pretty soon. I'm itching to open that great shit. There's so many fun things I can do with, like, drafting a Commander Legends original. Super cool. I got to get one of those AFR boxes because, we're doing a thing. There's going to be a drive over on Mr. DJ Longhair's channel, so check out over there for further information.
I'm actually kind of digging it, and to some extent, I hope that Magic tanks hard over the next few years, and then I can start picking up a whole lot of boxes I didn't get for my.
Oh yeah, that's
shelf.
actually a great
Like,
point. Yeah,
you want a silver lining? That's what I'm hoping, is that, oh shit, people really back out, and I can get a Kaladesh unopened box and stick it up on my shelf for $200.
Sweet dream time capsule. Thanks for stopping by.
I'm hoping that those kind of things, and there's some I've been eyeballing. Even the Dragon's Maze. Do you have a sealed Dragon's Maze box? I don't.
I don't.
Like there's a whole bunch of them, not just the valuable ones, but I just like to have a bunch of sealed Magic. You know what I was thinking about buying myself? You know what I was going to get myself for Christmas as a Christmas gift to me? Ice Age starter deck sealed, not to open, but just to put on my shelf. But I did buy Magic 30 right before, that. So I was like, all right, that's enough of a gift for me. Like, that was okay. That's a little pricey. So that's a gift for me for Christmas. And I was eyeballing, like I said, the Ice Age, because they're around $300 for an Ice Age starter deck. And, maybe we can look at it that way. Let's take a look at take advantage of the drop. The thing that's holding me back at the moment is I feel that the bottom hasn't fallen out. I think there's a long way down.
There's plenty room to go down from here.
Oh yes.
Which I think is exactly where we're gonna go. We're gonna be slimed up and oozing down, and it's just gonna be a slow, slippery tomb. Like it's gonna get to a pretty sad state. That's my gut feeling on it, and I'm not happy about it, but I'm not like remiss about it either. It is what it is, and it's just going to come back stronger. I mean, it's going to be a line of shit sets followed up by like the replacement of their CEO, and it's probably going to be another person after that actually gets their stuff together. So it might be 5 years before stuff.
I don't even feel that it's a bunch of shit sets, to be honest with you. What do you think's better, Crimson Vow or Dragon's Maze? Crimson Vow by far is a much better set.
I don't know much about Dragon's Maze.
Oh, it's awful. What's a better set? Midnight Hunt or Fallen Empires? By far, Midnight Hunt, right? There are cards that people play now. Like, the reason you don't know much about Dragon's Maze is because there really isn't shit in there that's worth anything.
Yes, that's a good point.
And there's a bunch of those sets, and those have the biggest room to drop, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
even though they're old and rare. Um,
I'd
but
like to
yeah,
be able
I would
to,
like to plus up my sealed collection.
I'd love to draft Rise of the Eldrazi. I'd like to see some of those boxes get kind of cheap enough. $300. Maybe it would be worth it at that point to pick up one of those boxes. Boy, that would be
Again, that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
We can look at the silver lining of this. What
yeah,
happens when that happens? What happens
mm,
if they, cooked the golden goose? Well,
yeah.
let's wait till other things that are still out there. You got to keep your eyes open in the right directions, and you can
Yeah.
find a silver lining in all of this,
Yeah, I mean,
even in
it
Magic.
by maybe even freeing up some of our time as well, because we're not so dedicated to Magic the Gathering. Maybe we're able to start streaming some Minecraft games. I got a new PC cooking up on the way. Yeah, we'll get some other type of contents out. We'll have stuff that we are entertained, that we do want to engage with.
I'll be honest with you. I really want to play in a D&D game. I really would like to
Oh,
do that.
yeah, dude. We had one going at work and it just absolutely fell apart. About a month and a half ago was our last game, and I don't think it's gonna pick back up. We were kind of chit-chatting with Matt, and I think that would be a phenomenal time.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. Even if we only play like 1 or 2 hours a week, I'm fine
Yeah,
with that.
yeah, yeah.
But I would like to be involved with something that it's those kind of things that help you. I love
Mm,
daydreaming. I do. I
yeah.
like my mind is constantly roiling with things, and things like give you a little insight in my personal life. I have a 3D printer coming in.
Oh man,
Unfortunately on
that's gonna
Tuesday
be
when I'm at
super
work.
fun.
So there's a lot in that space that I'm
Yeah.
going to be looking at, and I wanted it mainly because I have a bunch of board games like I've told you guys, and I want those box inserts to help me organize better. And there's a lot of 3D printing that you can do to organize your inserts. Eventually, I'll probably get a 3D resin printer so I can print minis like the ones behind me. I do a lot with minis. I love minis. Um, but with Magic and other games, my mind's constantly churning. So there are other ways that you can engage with Magic. Look to the past and say, hey, like you just said, maybe it's I want to draft Rise of the Eldrazi. So you're going to keep your eyes on Rise of the Eldrazi and see what kind of things. You could spend all damn day hunting on the internet for prices all over the place, and then looking in.
Yeah.
Is this company? When I find good prices, then I start digging into the company. I look at the Better Business Bureau on like some LGS that's selling things that are pretty cheap, or some other website I've never heard of to order things from. And there's so much to this space that you can do that doesn't necessarily involve the cookie cutter way we've been dealing with Magic for the past few years, at least. And you can start doing it in other ways. You could start looking, for example, like maybe you like dealing with. Oh, of course, I picked a green box.
Ixalan.
Like I love these. These
Mm,
fat pack boxes, whatever you want to call them, the bundle boxes.
yeah, those are pretty slick.
They all have interesting
Yeah.
art that's kind of unique to the bundle box, and start hunting those down, even on the secondary market, or going after some other weird Magic paraphernalia, or things like Dual Brains pins, hunting some of those down, and and I'm not just saying Dual Brain. I'm just saying there are so many ways that you can engage with Magic. To think which one is this? I don't remember which set this. Oh, right there. Is it not going to focus? Of course, it's not going to focus because it's looking at my
Nope.
face.
Oh, there you go. M20.
Yes, and M20. I think that's one of the cooler looking dies. It's just sharp looking to me. So there are lots of different ways. What I was pointing out is there's dice and there's other supplementary things that you can get from Magic that you don't even really think of, and you can engage that way with it. Oversized cards, love them.
Oh, heck yeah.
So, always, Ed. So, engaging in what you're doing right now, watching us on a Saturday night, talking about Magic. There are many, many ways to engage with Magic.
Yep.
And we just, I think, have to refocus, shift our thoughts on the hobby. Like when people talk about D&D, let's talk about D&D for a quick second. Right?
Oh, dude, I'd love to.
How much? How many hours have you spent probably in your life without playing, talking about D&D, different things about D&D? Like just sum up the lump sum of hours.
50.
Okay, right?
minimum.
So you spent 50 hours. How many of those hours were spent talking about the financials aspect of D&D,
Um,
percentage-wise?
maybe 4%. Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
wow.
2 hours. Yeah,
That's
and well,
not even for
so
me.
specifically because I'm pretty friendly with one LGS owner, and I know another one where we talk well
Okay.
enough and everything. So that definitely is a big aspect of it. And funny enough, one of the main thorough line through a lot of my monetization and money talk with D&D is about how they can't really do that. Like
Okay.
like the cat's already out of the bag. Like I have a player's handbook. They can do whatever the fuck they want from here on out, and I can in perpetuity introduce new people to D&D and host campaigns for hundreds of hours going forward. They can do nothing to stop me enjoying this product. It's it's mine
So
forever. Thank you.
in my life, and I'm going to guess that it's probably similar to many of the other people that have engaged with Dungeons and Dragons, which you can see behind me. This is one D&D behind me. And I have spent hundreds of hours talking about Dungeons and Dragons outside of playing it. And I would say far less than 1% of that time I was talking about the financial aspect of Dungeons and Dragons. Now let's switch that up. How many hours would you say you've talked about Magic the Gathering, Pat, in your life?
Um,
Not playing, but just talking
it,
about
uh, a few thousand hours.
Okay. What
Let's say
percentage of that
10,000
would you
hours.
say,
Yeah.
of that few thousand hours outside of the playtime,
Most
would
of
you
the
say
last
had some
years.
discussion about the finances of Magic the Gathering?
Way too high of a percentage.
50% maybe?
Yeah, the
Okay. So that's the comparison I was
yeah.
trying to make. Is
Yeah,
it
maybe
okay?
50%. Yeah, 60-40 at best. At
So I
fucking
was trying to
best.
take, other games that we can relate
Yeah.
to, even a WotC product being D&D,
Or,
and
or
financial discussions
or
of it for people
Monopoly.
having thousands of hours
Yeah.
was not about the financial aspect of the game. It still isn't, and except for the open game license now. But uh you spend a very, very small portion talking about the financial aspects of Dungeons and Dragons. And I think that we can shift Magic a bit. Talking about like the pins and life counters and dies in the books. And I love Ed's, background with his binders and boxes from the old sets. God, that really just, tickles a spot in my heart that I'm like, ooh, I'd like that. And it has nothing to do with the financial part of it. And I think that's what I would like to see out of the community, is shifting away from this hardcore, always talking about financial aspect of the game. And I know that's what we've been talking about for the majority of the night, because I think we're in a transition period. And I think it'd be
Yep.
healthier if people
Yep.
started focusing more on the other aspects of the game that are not financially driven.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's my silver lining, encouraging message. So it only took, what, 2 hours for people to have to stick through my ranting and
Yep.
raving to get to
And
a lighter, kinder Bob.
I think that's a great great note to kind of close up tonight on, is that yeah, we need to get that silver lining in Magic, is get that light back in it for you, figure out what's important to you with it, engage with it how you want to, figure out what's best for you. There's got to be a good balance in your life, not just with Magic but with everything. So take care of yourselves, be smart.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. I appreciate everybody in the audience. Always appreciate your support. Please help me feel like I'm valid in the community. If you haven't liked and subscribed on my channel, please do. I will try to put out more content. It's kind of tough when I'm all over everybody. I'm the magic nomad, really. But give us a like and subscribe. Matt does a lot of great work over there, and we'll try to get more content out if we see the numbers grow. So thank you all for joining us and giving us your time. I always appreciate everybody's time immensely.
Heck yeah.
Best
Y'all
thing you
take
can give
care,
me is
and
your time.
we'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. Till then, y'all take care.